Hello everyone, welcome to my class today. Today we will see a condition in musculoskeletal disorder, that is fracture. So if you are the first time watching my video, please like, share, subscribe and click the notification button and stay tuned. So coming to definition, so fracture means it is a break in the bone and it can occur any part of the body. Wherever the bone is there, it can get broken, and most commonly it occurs due to falls and accidents. And if the fracture occurs because of a disease condition where the bones are weakened, and during a slip or a fall, if the bone is fractured due to weakened bones, pathological fracture. Bone healing is a natural process, so that means bone will heal automatically, but when we give medical support and treatment, then the bone will heal in a perfect way. And next, coming to classification of fractures, so there are open versus closed and incomplete versus complete fracture. So open fracture, so as the name, when the fracture is creating injury to the nearby structures and muscles, and there are bleeding, and when the internal tissues are exposed to the outer area and they have high risk for infection, then we call it as open fracture. And closed fracture, these are all simple type of fracture where the fracture is confined in the bone and it is not open to the environment. Another classification is incomplete versus complete fracture. So in incomplete fracture, only partial bone is broken, that is the whole bone is not completely broken, and complete fracture is the whole bone is completely broken. Coming to the types of incomplete fracture, there is hairline fracture, which means it is a small crack or a small bruise that occurs in the bone. This is also called as stress fracture. So when there is excess stress, like in case of athletes or sports injuries, so when there is repeated stress to a particular bone, then this hairline fracture will occur. And green stick fracture, this is more common in children because their bones and cartilages are not developed properly, so the bone will break as a green stick. Okay, so when the green stick is broken, it will not break into two parts, it will be just bent. Same way the bone will bend, that is called as green stick fracture. And next is buckles or torus fracture. So here there will be a partial break in the bone, other side due to pressure the bump develops, that is called as torus or buckle fracture. Coming to types of complete fracture, so there is a simple fracture, here the bone is broken into two small parts, and comminuted fracture, here the bone is broken into many pieces, so more than two pieces of bones if they broke, they called as comminuted fracture. And impacted fracture is when the pressure is more, the bone goes inside. Okay, one part of the broken bone will impact or moves inside the other part of the bone is called impacted fracture. And compression fracture, so here the bone collapses and breaks under pressure. You can see a collapsed area in the between the broken bone. And displaced fracture is when the bone fracture fragment is overriding the other bone, that is called as displaced fracture. So again there are more different types of displaced fractures, like angular fractures, rotated fractures. So how the bone is getting displaced, they are classified into different types. And segmental fracture, so here the bone will break into two pieces, where one small piece will move like a segment. Okay, that is, it will be detached or unattached from the bone part, that is called as segmental fracture. So other types of fracture is longitudinal fracture, where there will be a single line, like length, on the length of the bone there will be a fracture. And transverse is in the horizontal axis, that is across the bone you can see a straight break, that is called transverse. And oblique is in a diagonal axis. Okay, so in a diagonal or in a cross way there will be a fracture. And spiral fracture, so as the name spiral, the bone will break in spiral shape. Break will be there, that is in a twist form the bone you can see the broken part. And intra-articular fracture, so these occurs in the joint surface. So when the fracture is in the surface of the joint, it is called as intra-articular fracture. And next, coming to causes of fracture, so it can be caused by falls and accidents. So when the bone is healthy, it can resist certain force, but when the force is very strong to intense or very severe, then it can break the bone. And children, so because in children the bones are not mature enough, stage running and doing all harsh activities, So at that time they are prone for fractures. And adults, again this is because of their weaker bones, they are high risk for fractures, and because of the weak bones they are also high risk of falling, which can lead to fractures. And underlying illness or infection, so like conditions like osteoporosis, infection, tumor of the bone. So when these conditions are there, the bones will be very weak, and even a small slip or a twist in the bone can cause a fracture. So this type of fracture is known as pathological fracture. Next is stress factor. So this is due to repeated stress that is occurring in the bones, which is most common in the sports people. So these are the causes of fracture. And next, coming to the pathophysiology. So whenever any tensile force, that is when the force is so severe that the bone cannot withstand, like in falls or accidents or injuries, it can cause break in the continuity of bone, which is called as fracture. So whenever there is a broken bone, so in between blood will come and accumulate and they form like a hematoma, that is clot formation occurs. And after the clot formation, structural and biochemical changes. So this is because so many infiltrate mediators, neutrophils, everything will come and accumulate in that area, and they form fibroblasts, chondroblasts, and ingrowth of capillaries, forming a primary callus. Okay, so callus is a bony tissue will be formed in that area, and this primary callus will be transformed into a bony callus. Okay, so this primary is like a soft callus will be there, and later it will be transformed to a hard callus with the help of osteoprogenitor cells. Okay, so these are the cells which are responsible for bone formation. So these all will help in stabilizing the fracture site, and gradually the cortical bones are developed, and so many biochemical properties and biochemical changes occurs, which will cause reduce in the callus formation, and the bone will ultimately remodel, or it will go to the normal shape before the fracture. So this occurs in the pathophysiology. And coming to clinical manifestation, there is edema and swelling. So whenever there is a fracture, blood will come and accumulate in that area. That is, blood will start extravasating from the blood vessels, and they accumulate and cause edema. Edema is accumulation of fluid in the tissues, and because of the edema there will be swelling. And then pain and tenderness, again when the fracture is going and compressing the nearby nerves, and also muscular injury will cause spasms of the muscle, which will result in pain. And muscle spasm, so again this is due to irritation of the tissue, so it is one of the protective response for fracture. So it will contract the muscle and place the fracture bone in position. Okay, so there will be a constriction or a contraction in the bone. And deformity, so there will be abnormal posture. So whenever fracture bone is broken, so that part will come out, so the position of the extremity will be abnormal. And ecchymosis and contusion, so this is bluish discoloration of that area. So because when the blood is extravasating and it is accumulating in that area for a long time, the color changes into blue. So discoloration you can see on the skin. And loss of function, so whenever patient is having fracture, he will be immobile, that is, he will not be able to move the body part due to pain, and also to prevent further dislodgement of the bone. And crepitation, so that is when two fractured bones, they crack with each other or grate with each other, you will hear a crunching like sound, that is called as crepitation. Okay, and then process of bone healing. So in the initial process there will be hematoma formation. So as I already said, the blood will come and clot in that area. And next is granulation tissue. So phagocytosis and other neutrophils and infiltrating mediators will come and accumulate in that area, and they cause the local necrosis, which will take 3 to 14 days after injury. And then there will be callus formation. Okay, so that is calcium, phosphorus, magnesium. So these are the minerals which will make the bone matrix. So they will come and deposit in the area and form a cast on around the fracture, and this occurs in the second week after injury, and you can see the formation of callus in the X-ray. And next stage is the ossification. So initially mineralization will occur. Later, after the minerals are accumulated, so they form a core that is hard bone matrix on the fractured area. So this will take 3 weeks to 6 months after the fracture, and at this stage you can remove the cast and patient will limited movement will be possible by the patient. And consolidation is, so further ossification and callus formation will develop and the bone fragments, okay, in between the bone will start closing, so that is consolidation. So remodeling is previously before the fracture how the bone was in the shape, same way the bone will be remodeled if there is a perfect healing. Okay, and next is diagnostic findings. So here you have to collect the history about how the fracture occurs, site of the fracture, and you have to see the area whether there is any involvement of blood vessels or any displacement of the fracture and any complications are there, so that you have to identify. And X-ray, so plain X-ray will help in detecting the fractured bone. So if there is a small hairline fracture or a cream stick fracture which is not visible under the plain X-rays, then we can do a CT and MR. Will also show if there is injury to the surrounding tissues. And coming to the complications of bone healing, okay, so if the bone is healing properly, then the remodeling will occur and the bone will become like a pre-fracture, that is before fracture how the bone was there, so in that stage it will goes. If the bone is not properly healing due to malnutrition or due to improper treatment, then the patient can go for complications. So here there will be a delayed union. That means union will occur, but it will occur in a longer duration, more than expected time the union will occur. Non-union, here the fractured bones will fail to unite each other, that is in the place of bone formation some fibrous tissue ossification will be there. So we call this as pseudo arthrosis, that means some false formation of bone will occur, but the bones will not unite each other. And malunion, so that is here the union will occur in an expected time, but the union of the both the joints will not join together, okay, that means mal so they will be joining in an abnormal position. This can result in deformity and dysfunction, okay, so that is why we put cast or traction, align the bone in a normal or a straight position so that union will occur in a normal way. And refracture, so sometimes if the fracture occurs and if there is no proper union, that is like pseudo arthrosis or some non-union occurs, then if the patient is sleeping in the second time, then he can go for a refracture, new fracture can occur. And myositis ossification, so that is some calcium which are responsible for the formation of bone, they will deposit on the muscles and cause calcification of the muscles, which will result in muscle trauma. So these are the complications which can occur while bone is not healing properly. And next is complications of fracture. So main complication is infection. In case open fracture, the skin and other tissues are exposed to the environment, which can attract the microorganism and cause infection. And next is compartment syndrome. So this is because the fractured bone will cause compression of the nearby nerves and blood vessels, and which will cause a crush injury in that area. So that area will lack blood supply and it will cause death or necrosis of the tissue of that part will occur, that is called compartment syndrome. Next is venous thrombosis. So whenever there is a fracture, the nearby veins are getting compressed, and moreover if the fracture is in the lower extremities, the person is lying for a long time, which can cause venous stasis, so there will be formation of clot, okay. At that time venous thrombosis can occur. Again, if there is an application of cast or traction very tightly, it can again increase the chance of venous thrombosis. And fat embolism syndrome, so here the fat molecules that are present in the adipose tissue that can enter inside the blood vessels during an injury, and these fat molecules they can form like a emboli. Emboli is with the blood they will start forming clot, and this moving clot can go and obstruct any of the arteries, and it can eventually lead pulmonary embolism, and also it is a life threatening condition. And next is management of fracture. So mainly we have to reduce, that is fracture reduction. So fracture reduction means we have to make the both the ends, that is fractured ends, to join together in a proper alignment so that the bone will properly heal, okay, without any deformity. And fracture immobilization, so that means we have to align the bone without moving so that the bone will heal faster, and they will prevent displacement of the bones. For fracture reduction and immobilization, we do a procedure called traction. So in traction, we keep pulleys or weights or any ropes are used in order to align the bone in position. So this can done to enhance the healing stage, or you can also temporarily put the traction in until the patient is going for a corrective surgery. And purposes of traction are, so mainly you have to stabilize the fracture, and you have to realign the broken bone, and you have to help the bone heal in normal position. And we give cervical traction in order to stretch the neck and reduce pressure on spine and realigning the vertebra, and temporarily reduce pain due to before surgery. And you can lessen or eliminate muscle spasms and constricted joint muscles and tendons. So traction helping in relieve pressure and prevent compartment syndrome, and it will treat bone deformities. And depending on the area where the broken bone or injury is there, there are different types of traction which can be used. Coming to the principles of effective traction, so whenever we apply a traction, we must also put a counter traction, okay. That means on opposite direction we have to put the weight, adjust the traction so that the bones will align in the normal way. This traction should be kept continuously in order to reduce and immobilize the fractures. And skeleton traction should never be interrupted, and weights should not be removed until the traction is removed. And any factor that will reduce the effective pull or alter the line of pull should be eliminated. You should not give pressure on the ropes, okay. And good proper body alignment you have to maintain whenever we are putting the traction, and rope should not be obstructed, or without any obstruction it should be there. And weight should hang freely, they should not touch the floor or anything. And knots on the rope or the foot plate, okay. So when we tying, so they should also not touch the foot of the bed. So these are the principles you have to remember while putting a traction. There are types of traction. So in skeletal traction, so this is done under general anesthesia or local anesthesia, where they put the screws, wires or rods will be inserted in the bone, and then there will be a counter traction provided in the form of weights, etc. Okay. And skin traction, so this is a device which will be applied like a bandage. You will be tying on the skin of the patient, and the other end you will be putting counter traction with weight in order to pull and align the tissues. So whenever there is soft tissue injury or any muscles, tendons broken, then we can do the skin traction. Cervical traction is done for the head. Here that is the metallic brace is placed around the head, and then on the head you will be putting a weight and aligning the neck. Next is fracture immobilization. So this can achieve by using cast and splints, slings, braces and collars. Okay, cast and splints, they are used to immobilize the broken bone. So in cast we use a plaster of Paris or a fiberglass material. First we put a lining with a gauze piece or a dressing with a pad, and later this fiberglass or a plaster of Paris can be woven around the fractured area. So this will help in preventing the movement of the bone. And nowadays there is also Gore-Tex padding is coming. So this is waterproof, so that patient can also bath once the fracture is applied. And splint, so these are done in order for a smaller period or a temporary period in order to prevent dislocation of a joint, okay. So you can see a splint, and that like a pad it will be there, which will be wound around the patient. So whenever before doctor is coming to do the plaster of Paris or any procedure, we can temporarily place the patient on the splint so that the displacement of bone will be prevented. Next is sling. This is used to support the arm after the fracture. So this can be used once the cast or splint is applied, then you can tie the sling so that the person will keep the arm immobilized, or in emergency for children until the doctor is coming, you can put a triangular bandage, which is also one form of sling, which will be tied around the neck so that you can keep the arms immobilized. Next is braces. So this is used to support, align or hold a body part in correct position. So this is used after a surgical procedure or immediately after the injury, and there are so many custom made and ready made braces available, and also it comes in different shapes, sizes, and also with velcro patches, so that we can order and adjust according to the person's size and shape. And while putting brace, we can also provide physical therapy and exercises to the limbs so that certain movement can be allowed when the person is on braces. These collars, they are worn around the neck, so there are also soft collars which will help in transporting the weight from the head to the chest, and also stiff collars are there in order to immobilize the neck after a fracture, and cervical collars can be used after a head injury in order to prevent immobilization of the head, and collars will help make sure the neck is immobilized after an injury. And next is pharmacological management. So patient will have severe muscle spasms and pain, so we have to give muscle relaxants like carisoprodol, cyclobenzapine, metocarbamol. So this will reduce the pain. And antibiotics in case of open fracture when the patient is having infection or prone for infection, prophylactically we can give cephalosporins like cefazolin. And supplementation like calcium and vitamin C supplements are given in order to promote the bone healing. And nutritional therapy, so you have to see whether patient is taking adequate protein, so you have to tell them to take 1 gram per kg body weight of proteins, vitamins like B, C and D, minerals like calcium, phosphorus and magnesium should be taken in the food, so they will help in more tissue healing. So mainly so many of the fruits and vegetable juices patient can drink in order to promote healing, and patient to take well balanced diet of 3 meals per day, so this is also advised to enhance healing. And fluid intake should be 2000 to 3000 ml per day, so this will help in proper bladder and bowel function. And high fiber diet, so because patient will be immobilized, may go for constipation, so you have to give fiber diet in order to prevent constipation. And if patient has signs of cramping and abdominal pressure when he takes more full meals, then you can advise him to take 6 meals per day, like small and frequent feeds should be given. And next is surgical management. So here open reduction and internal fixation. Here with surgically the affected fracture area is opened, and then with the help of rods, screws and wires they will fix the bones. And nowadays there is also absorbable materials are available, so these screws will be left in place, so they will be absorbed by the body once the healing occurs. And surgical debridement and irrigation of open fracture, so this is done in order to prevent infection and also necrosis of the tissue after the fractures. So here when there is any decayed tissue is there, that will be removed, and with the normal saline the area will be irrigated in order to clean the area and also prevent infections. So these are the care provided after the fracture. So I hope you have understood my class. And for nursing management, I have already dealt about the nursing plan of a patient with fracture. So the link will be given in the description box. Please see to it. Please like, share, subscribe and click the notification button and stay tuned.